The MCU's multiverse grows rapidly and gets confusing very fast. So here's a quick and simple recap of the entire timeline explained in the most simplest way possible. Salutations and fist bumps, folks. Welcome back to the grid. The timeline we've been following since Iron Man kicked everything off back in 2008 is officially called the Sacred Timeline, also known as Earth 616. This is the main timeline where most of the Marvel Cinematic Universe takes place. From the first time that we meet the big three, and I'm talking about specifically Iron Man, Cap, and Thor, to the first time the Avengers assemble, through Thanos' snap and beyond. But here's where things get interesting. As we found out in Endgame, certain choices or actions called Nexus events caused the Sacred Timeline to branch out. These branches lead to different realities, creating different timelines that explore what could have happened if things had gone differently, which is practically what Dr.Strange saw in Infinity War and Endgame, and what Tony kicked off when he snapped and sacrificed himself to bring back the world. That's also what gives us the wild scenarios inside of What If, including Peggy Carter becoming Captain Carter, T'Challa becoming Star-Lord, and a zombie-filled Marvel world. The Time Variance Authority, the TVA, was recently created by a powerful being known as He Who Remains, which, if you don't know, is a Kang variant whose goal was to keep the sacred timeline intact, perfectly controlling it and isolating it from multiversal chaos. He created the TVA to make sure that everything was clean and in order, or at least that's what they wanted everyone to believe. In Loki Season 1, He Who Remains tells Loki and Sylvie about the first multiversal war.
Erupted into all-out war, each variant fighting to preserve their universe and annihilate the others.
Which slightly ties into a recent comic arc, Only Myself to Conquer, which is where Kang fights himself a bunch of different times in all of his different variants. In the MCU, however, each Kang variant thought that they could run the multiverse better than the other, and things got out of control fast and erupted into a multiversal war. To stop the chaos, He Who Remains discovered and weaponized a powerful being known as Alioth, which can consume time and reality itself, including the people in it. And he created a place where variants will be consumed called the Void, not to be confused with the Void from the new Avengers / Thunderbolt, aka Sentry. Using Alioth, he wiped out the other timelines and created one controlled timeline, the Sacred Timeline, bringing peace and harmony, but at a cost. But here's what's really important to understand, and that is how the multiverse is conceptualized. Because, see, it's not a bunch of branches just on one line. It's more like a web of entire timelines stacked on top of each other, hinting that the MCU's multiverse is far bigger, wider, and greater than we first thought. In episode 5 of season 1 of Loki, Sylvie went around the multiverse planting bombs which helped alter events, culminating to a point where Sylvie kills He Who Remains. And then everything starts to unravel. With no one left to control the flow of time, the sacred timeline literally begins to fracture. The TVA, once a well-oiled machine pruning rogue branches of the timeline, starts falling apart from the inside. Literally. And no one knows who's really in charge anymore. With the TVA no longer able to keep things in check, branch timelines begin to grow unchecked, giving rise to infinitely new reality. This explosive shift directly sets the stage for events in What If, where we start to see alternate versions of heroes we thought we knew. And by Loki Season 2, the multiverse becomes so unstable that Loki himself starts to understand and experience the true scale of what's at stake. Now, across 3 mind-warping seasons of What If, we follow Uatu the Watcher, a cosmic being sworn only to observe, never interfere, though as we've seen, the rules get bent when the multiverse is in danger. Each episode showcases a different universe where one decision changes everything, including Peggy Carter becoming Captain Carter, T'Challa becoming Star-Lord, and we start to understand that these stories are not just one-off. Over time, they accumulate and connect, revealing a bigger picture. And these alternate versions of our heroes are eventually pulled together by Uatu the Watcher to face multi-level threats, which include Infinity Ultron, a variant of Ultron, who obtained all 6 of the Infinity Stones, Strange Supreme, a corrupted version of Dr. Strange, and even the Watchers themselves. But it's not just about asking, what if? It's about seeing how far the multiverse can be pushed before it collapses. And it almost does, because the conflict with the Watchers' critical breaking point that came with a heavy cost. Captain Carter, arguably the heart of What If, ends up making the ultimate sacrifice, which is parallel to how Steve Rogers' Captain America actually began, her death marking a turning point not just emotionally, but also for Watu the Watcher and the multiverse wide. Up to this point, the Watcher and others like him were bound to an oath, again, never to interfere, always observe, and never change anything. But now, with the multiverse unraveling and threats looming everywhere, he makes a vow to ultimately protect the multiverse from harm, even if it means breaking every rule that his kind has followed since the beginning. But here's where things get even more interesting, because rumors are swirling that Watu the Watcher could make his live action debut inside of the upcoming Fantastic Four movie, which I believe, and I know this is going to the far left corners of the MCU yet again, I believe that has some merit to it because we've actually seen him, though we didn't need to at all. We actually saw him in X-Men 97, which could have been a subtle hint, but also because incursions seem imminent and someone's going to have to bring the heroes together from different worlds. There's nobody better to do that than Watu. Now, moving on to Spider-Man No Way Home, where Peter Parker messes up Dr. Strange's memory spell, causing the multiverse to crack open. When he tries to reverse a spell that allows him to get into college of his choice, instead of everyone forgetting Peter Parker is Spider-Man, the spell backfires.
Basically, everyone that knew that I was Spider-Man before should still know!
And pulls in people from other universes, which is how 5 villains of the Sinister Six, including Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Electro, Sandman, and Lizard, all end up inside of the MCU's sacred timeline, otherwise known as Earth 616. But it's not just the bad guys that show up here. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man from their respective universes show up as well, leading to an emotional and legendary Spider-Man and Spider-Man team-up that fans had been looking for, I should say, for years. After the chaotic battle at the Statue of Liberty and the entire multiverse cracking open in the sky, Spider-Man managed to cure the villains, and Dr. Strange cast a final spell that sends everyone back to their respective universes, but not without cost, because now everyone in the MCU's 616 Earth now forgets that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, including all of his friends, the Avengers, and everyone else that actually knew that he was Spider-Man. So he's completely alone now and actually has to start from ground zero, creating a new suit, sewing it from scratch, and actually flipping around Manhattan basically on his own. Oh, and by the way, remember Sony's Venom?
We are. No. Oh. Yeah, we are
Venom.
Yeah, he popped into the MCU even for a very short time because as quick as he came, he left just as fast, but not without leaving a piece of his symbiote. But that alien blob is still, again, somewhere inside of the MCU. And we also saw a cockroach at the end in the post-credit scene of Venom: The Last Dance that also could be at the time being used as a host until a suitable host is found. Then moving on to Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. The story picks up shortly after the events of WandaVision. A grieving and corrupted by the Darkhold Wanda Maximoff fully embraces her identity now as the Scarlet Witch and begins hunting America Chavez, a teenage girl with the unique and incredibly rare ability to travel through the multiverse anytime she wants. Wanda's goal, though, to capture America and take her powers so that she can time travel through the multiverse where her sons, Billy and Tommy, are actually still alive. In the telling of this story, Doctor Strange narrowly saves America Chavez from Wanda, but in doing so, they end up tumbling through the multiverse. Literally. In this universe, iconic teams like the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, the Inhumans, and alternate versions of the Avengers form a powerful group known as the Illuminati. This, my friends, is where things get really intense. Strange learns about a devastating phenomenon known as an incursion.
The larger the footprint you leave behind, the greater the risk of an incursion. Incursion? An incursion occurs when the boundary between two universes erodes and they collide, destroying one or both entirely.
The Illuminati warned Strange that his variant in their universe was responsible for causing an incursion, and it cost him his life. This revelation sets the stage for the stakes of the multiverse. Messing with other realities has real world-ending consequences. Wanda, now fully consumed by the Darkhold's corrupting influence, begins dreamwalking, a forbidden spell that lets her possess versions of herself in other universes. Using this terrifying ability, she takes control of her variant in Universe 838, which is currently where Dr. Strange and America Chavez are, and then brutally murders the entire Illuminati, including fan favorite characters like Professor X, Captain Carter, Black Bolt, and Mr. Fantastic. Literally one of the most shocking and ruthless scenes in the entire MCU. Then, with few options left, Doctor Strange travels to yet another universe, this one ravaged by chaos and madness. There, he encounters a dark version of himself that is also now corrupted by the Darkhold. Then, after a deadly confrontation, Strange kills this version and takes the Darkhold for himself. In a desperate move, he uses dreamwalking to possess the corpse of another variant, the one that died earlier and was buried in Earth 616. Controlling a dead version of himself, he returns to confront Wanda in an epic final showdown that's equal parts horror and heroism. America Chavez, realizing that brute force won't stop Wanda, decides instead to give her exactly what she wants.
Is this what you want?
A glimpse into a universe where her boys, Billy and Tommy, are alive. But what Wanda sees from her boys isn't love. Instead, it's fear. The boys scream in terror at the sight of her, recognizing that she's not their real mother, but a monster that is portraying to be their mother. This heartbreaking moment snaps Wanda out of her rage, and she finally understands the destruction that she caused. Wanda then goes and destroys the Darkhold in every universe by collapsing the throne of Wundagore Mountain on herself. With peace restored, America Chavez begins her next chapter. She is now training at Kamar-Taj, learning the mystic arts and how to properly control her multiverse jumping power, a sign that she could become a big player in the multiverse saga in later installments, specifically inside of Secret War. But Strange's actions haven't gone without consequences, because when he tampered with the Darkhold and dreamwalked across realities, he caused something very catastrophic, known as an incursion. That's when Clea shows up and literally cuts through reality and tells him that what he broke, he now has to fix. And just like that, Strange heads off into the multiverse for his next big adventure. Moving on to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which is where we meet a powerful variant of He Who Remains. But this one goes by Kang the Conqueror. Unlike He Who Remains, this variant, known again as Kang, is ruthless, terrifying, and very much not interested in keeping peace. He was banished by his fellow Kang variants to the quantum realm, a microscopic dimension outside of space and time, which was actually introduced in Ant-Man and the Wasp. But this is where he's been plotting his revenge ever since. While trapped there, he crosses paths with Janet Van Dyne, who had also been stuck in the quantum realm for a decade. The two team up, and Janet helps him rebuild his multiversal ship. But just as Kang is close to escaping, Janet touches the ship's core and gets a horrifying vision. Kang isn't just a genius, he's a multiversal destroying tyrant, obliterating timelines one after another. Realizing the danger he poses, Janet betrays him, sabotaging his ship and trapping him deeper in the quantum realm, setting the stage for the events of Quantumania after Janet Van Dyne escapes the quantum realm in Ant-Man and the Wasp. She then keeps her past there a secret for a very long time, at least until it's too late. In the story of Quantumania, doing what seemed like an innocent experiment, Scott Lang, Hope, Cassie, Janet, and Hank all get sucked back into the quantum realm, but this isn't the strange, unexplored world Janet once described. Now it's something entirely different. Down there, the Ant family learns the truth. Kang has taken over the quantum realm and rules it like a futuristic dystopia.
What?
Janet's worst fears are realized when she comes face to face with him again. And this time, Kang's actually ready for her, tells her and eventually Scott why he's destroying entire universes. From his perspective, it's all in the name of order, which sounds very familiar to another tyrant, but he believes if he doesn't wipe out timelines, other more dangerous versions of himself, Kang that is, will do exactly that. So it's his version of necessary evil for a greater multiversal good. After an intense showdown, Scott and Hope manage to take down Kang in the quantum realm, or so they think, because it seems like Kang the Conqueror is gone after being sucked into an unknown part of the quantum realm, but the damage he set in motion is far from over. Just when things start to settle down, we get a chilling post-credit scene. We're taken to a mysterious arena unlike anything we've seen before, filled with thousands of Kang variants, all wearing different costumes, each more dangerous than the other. At the center of it all stands the Council of Kang, led by Mortis from Tut and a futuristic Scarlet Centurion. But these aren't random Kang versions though. They're the most powerful versions of Kang inside of the multiverse. And they are furious that one of their own is killed by someone other than them. Now, this brings me back to Loki, but this time inside of season 2. After the multiverse starts unraveling, Loki starts time slipping uncontrollably, pulled between the past, present, and the future. In his search for answers, he uncovers more secrets about He Who Remains, the true nature of the TVA, and how fragile the multiverse really is. Loki and friends track down Victor Timely, a 19th century inventor and a variant of He Who Remains, because Victor holds the key to rebuilding the temporal loom, a device meant to organize the infinite timelines into some sort of order. But there's one big problem. No matter how many branches they try to stabilize, the sheer chaos of the multiverse is way too much. Every attempt to try and fix it fails, and with the TVA on the verge of collapse and timelines dying, Loki makes a heartbreaking decision and he sacrifices himself. Using all the time-slipping ability he's gained and now understands the power of and the meaning of, he takes control of the broken loom, walks through the intense time storm, and ascends to the Citadel, sitting at the end of time. In a stunning visual transformation, Loki sits atop the throne, cradling timelines like roots of Yggdrasil. Now, a literal god of stories, ensuring the multiverse doesn't collapse. Loki may be gone from the TVA, but now he's the one holding everything together. With Loki now sitting at the center of time, the TVA gets a major reset. No longer a tool for pruning timelines in secret, it's restructured into a force of protection dedicated to safeguarding the multiverse, not controlling it. And it's also uncovered that the villain of the Loki series and also the love interest of Kang, Ravonna Renslayer, was last seen in the void, but her fate is unknown, though it's speculated that she sees Alioth. Which then brings us to the Marvels. And I know, not a very household name in terms of the MCU, but it is important in the story of the multiverse. So we have to go here.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad! You keep digging!
Now, fast forward near the climax of the film, the villain Dar-Benn uses the twin bangles and accidentally tears open a hole in space and time. Carol Danvers and Kamala Khan supercharge Monica Rambeau, unlocking her full power. And in a moment of pure heroism, Monica flies into the rift and seals it shut from the other side. But that now means that she's stranded on that other side. When she wakes up, Monica finds herself in an entirely different universe, one where the X-Men actually exist. She's met by a variant of her mother, now known as Binary, and is surrounded by characters we've only seen in Fox's X-Men film, signifying that our next move would be to Deadpool and Wolverine, where we pick up after the events of Deadpool 2 and Logan, but with a major twist and a very decent dance number, might I add. We learn that Logan, Wolverine, is the anchor being of the Foxverse, go figure, which is officially designated Earth 10005. Now I need to take a quick pause to explain what anchor beings actually are. Anchor being is the glue holding the entirety of the reality together. But since Wolverine died in Logan, that glue is gone. And when an anchor dies, their universe doesn't immediately explode. It starts to slowly unravel. At least that's how it's explained in Deadpool and Wolverine. And that's exactly what's happening to Earth 10005. Wade then tries to find Wolverine and finds the worst of the variants possible, after coming into contact with a bunch of them, by the way, including the Calvarine. Then, after a conflict with the TVA agent Paradox, Wade and Logan get sent to the Void, where they meet Professor Charles Xavier's sister, Cassandra Nova, who plans on destroying the multiverse, leaving only the Void, which is again a mysterious dumping ground outside of space and time, which was introduced back in season 1 of Loki. But here we also see multiple characters from the past of Marvel, including Elektra, Wesley Snipes' Blade, Channing Tatum's Gambit, and X-23, which is confirmed to be the exact version from Logan. Deadpool and Wolverine stop Cassandra Nova from killing the Foxverse, and Deadpool and Wolverine become the new anchor beings of universe 10005, which now makes me believe that because there can be 2 anchor beings inside of one universe, does that mean that Earth 616 Big 3 are or were the anchor beings of that entire universe? And is that a potential wrinkle inside of the story of why the sacred timeline starts really to unravel, including the events of Loki? There's a lot to unpack here, so there's going to be another video coming up with that soon. But then in the post-credit scenes of Captain America Brave New World, Sam Wilson, now fully established as the Captain America of the 616 Earth, is then approached by the leader, who's been lurking in the shadows throughout the film. But instead of a very classic and one-off villainous monologue, the leader actually drops a very chilling question, and he says, "How will you protect this world from the other?" Which leads us straight into the next installment of Doctor Strange and what potentially might be called Incursions of Madness and Avengers Doomsday. So that's my full rundown. If you've made it this far, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe button. And until next time, blurred out.